The year is 1907. The new Gila County Courthouse and Jail had just been completed in downtown, but before the paint dried on the new plaster, there was trouble for the sheriff's office and jail on the ground level. The 16-cell jail was immediately inadequate and overcrowded. Sheriff John Rimrock Henry Thompson petitioned loudly for a new jail, and fast. Globe in 1907 was going to need more than 16 cells to keep law and order. Gambling was legal, and oftentimes violence broke out when debts went unpaid. And all along Broad Street, north of Mesquite, bustling saloons were the norm. And what is more, houses of prostitution were on every second story. And it was not uncommon for the sheriff to die in the line of duty. While Globe was one of the most prosperous communities in the territory of Arizona and was booming with fine new structures like the courthouse, the realities of the West meant a cocktail of common violence. Surviving in the territory meant a person needed to be a rugged individual, and odds were, if you were in the territory, it meant you were unwanted or even wanted somewhere else. Plans were announced for a new jail in 1908. This would be a reinforced concrete structure and, as the local newspaper boasted, state-of-the-art. Since the gallows were already built on the land behind the courthouse, it was a natural decision to put the new jail on this location. Concrete, steel, and a maze design of security doors meant this new jail would be a fortress. A young graduate of Cornell, Mr. Clarence Sipes, was in charge of construction. At the time of the jail's construction, the closure of the Yuma Territorial Prison began. Original plans for open cells, laundry, and visitor areas were scrapped, and the Pauley jail cells from Yuma were salvaged and transported to Globe for this jail. The result was much more of a military prison than the expected county jail. The new jail opened its doors in 1910. The sheriff's office was on the ground floor, where he was given an indoor bath, a handsome professional perk to offer in 1910. Those booked in jail passed through a series of steel holding doors to concrete rooms before finding their way to one of 17 cells and one of 66 steel sleeping bunks. Accommodations were grim. Only one toilet served 28 men per level, and there was no exercise yard nor cafeteria. With the coming of statehood in 1912, Governor George W.P. Hunt from Globe was instrumental in making gambling and prostitution illegal, although it still managed to continue. The jail continued to serve until 1981, when a new facility was built. We do not have records or a paper trail of those who waited out time here while on the wrong side of the law. Many of them have left their marks on the walls and the windowsills. But paranormal investigators say they may be present beyond mere etchings. In 1912, an Italian immigrant miner, Frank Ballant, chose to leap from the catwalk and end his own life rather than face sentencing in the courtroom for murderous assault. Another inmate, Hugh Kevlane, in jail for the murder of his wife in 1916, left a suicide note explaining he had bought a rope from a youth in the alley and chose to hang himself in the jail corridor. Perhaps they are still serving time in the jail. But it is the death in 1911 of a ranch hand by the name of Kingsley Olds that stands out. Accused of the drowning deaths of his employer's 2 young daughters, Kingsley was hidden in the jail by the sheriff to keep the mob violence from deciding his fate for him. While he waited in his cell, insisting he was innocent, newspaper headlines announced he was tormented by the visions of the lost girls. Over the 4th of July weekend in 1911, someone, still unknown to this day, hid in the courthouse across the alley, waited the night out, and then, by the early light of the dawn, fired a rifle from a window across the way into the jail and killed Kingsley as he slept in his cell. As you visit the jail today, watch your step and be aware of the thresholds and stairs. Experiencing the jail gives us a glimpse into the rugged life of the territory of Arizona. Like the inmates who left their marks on the cell walls, the Globe Jail has left its mark on Arizona history.